you're asking somebody in a lot of cases to write maybe the biggest check they've ever written
Yeah.
to the federal government.
Yeah. Everyone's favorite.
Telling them that the whole point of this is to pay less taxes. It sounds insane, right? And so if you don't go about it the right way and show them the math and show them the big picture and the long-term effect of these strategies, they're going to shut down right away, as I would.
This is Successfully Retired with Hamilton Brandenburg.
The tax plan so that it's palatable
Yeah.
for the client or the prospect. Why don't you just kind of explain what you've been
yeah.
seeing a little bit, and then we'll try to work out what maybe a better approach is so that people understand it more.
It's funny. Okay, when you talk about palatable, I think sometimes there is like sticker shock when you start, when, you know, in our mind, when we're looking at a client's tax plan in retirement, we might be thinking about like 30, years, and how do we optimize their tax bill over time, which is great. You need to be strategic. But I saw actually on a YouTube video the other day, someone had commented like, oh, we looked into Roth conversions, but we don't want to do them because the tax bill's too high and it's going to mess up this and this and this. And, everything they said, I don't know their situation. I didn't comment on it, but everything they said were like, these are things that are going to affect us this year. And because it's going to cause me to write a bigger check this year on either my health insurance or my tax bill or something, I've gone ahead and just written off the strategy and I'm not going to do it. Now, is that the right thing for them? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know them, but sticker shock. Yeah. I mean, that gets people in a lot of things, estate planning, tax planning, whatever. You see a big bill and you think this is not worth it. Pump the brakes, right? Yeah. I mean, do you run into that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to get better at proposing strategies that will cause that issue a different way, and almost backing into it, showing the bigger picture. But it is difficult because you're asking somebody in a lot of cases to write maybe the biggest check they've ever written.
Yeah.
To the federal government.
Yeah. Everyone's favorite.
Telling them that the whole point of this is to pay less taxes. It sounds insane, right? And so if you don't go about it the right way and show them the math and show them the big picture and the long-term effect of these strategies, they're going to shut down right away, as I would. Like if you led with write this check and everything will be great, like I'm just going to shut down. So I think the effect is showing the lifetime savings, the lifetime strategy. And not only that, and we're talking about Roth conversions here.
Yeah, I was going to say, adding context, like the big thing is probably the easy bucket that people get sticker shock at.
The easy one Roth is, and I think, and we don't have to go into that here. We'll talk more about the tax planning, but the other one is fees.
Yeah.
Like, and not just in our industry, but for CPAs, for financial advisors, for whatever the profession is, wills and trust lawyers. Yeah. You get sticker shock on the fee, and the only reason is because you don't know what the value is.
Yep.
Right. And so for the Roth conversion, for those listening, we're really talking about taking your IRA, your 401k money, converting it into a Roth, likely in the early years of your retirement, to create tax-free bucket later. The rub there is that you've got to pay taxes, right? The strategy in most cases, or we wouldn't be proposing it, is going to lower your lifetime tax bill significantly. But in order to do that, we've got to pay some taxes up front, and there's some strategy around how much and all that other stuff.
Well, and before we get into that, like to set the stage really quickly, in like 2 minutes or so, just tell me like, okay, in this scenario, let's say you have somebody who's got $1, $2, $3 million in a 401k or their IRA.
Yeah.
And you're coming to them proposing, hey, you need to start doing some Roth conversions. What's the cost of doing nothing? What's the scenario look like for this person with a 7-figure IRA going into retirement, say 60 years old?
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain why you would even propose this strategy?
Yeah. What's going to happen is, in most cases, at least with the people that I work with, they have more money than they need, which is great. Creates
problem
safety
to have.
And
that's right.
But it's easy to say we don't know what the future is, but just the math shows that likely they have more than they need. and they're going to be likely earning more than they spend, even though they're going to start spending some of it in retirement. A lot of these folks don't even touch it for the first 10 or 12 years of their retirement. That was actually their plan coming in. I want to not touch this, grow it. I've got Social Security, a small pension, and this other cash we're going to spend first. That's actually the opposite of what you want to do, because what you're alluding to is that bucket of money that's taxable is going to continue to grow, at which time the government's going to start forcing you to take it out. Right now,
Yep.
that age is 75. It likely will change a couple times over the next few years. But at 75, they make you start taking it out and tell you how much. And so as that number changes, you're taking a bigger dollar value out likely at 75 just because the account has grown than you would be now, being forced to pay taxes on it, not getting to choose how much in each year you pay tax on. And then that continues for your life. And if you have a younger spouse, I just did this with a guy, wife's 13 years younger. Okay. They're going to pay RMDs for 30 years because when he dies, it's going to all transfer to her and she's going to turn 75 or 76 a year later.
Yep.
They're going to go through 2 full RMD cycles. And then whatever's left is going to get transferred to the son, who's going to have 10 years to take. There's 40 to 50 years worth of forced taxable withdrawals out of that account, versus over the next 8 years, converting it all to Roth, having the freedom of getting to spend it when you want, what you want, not having a vacation affect your other tax bill and all this other stuff for the rest of their life.
I think it's, we like to, I guess, focus on the nuance, but at the expense of possibly doing that. I like to remind people, like, when you put money into that 401k when you were working, you didn't really get a true tax deduction. You got a tax deferment.
Yeah.
Means that's not a, hey, you get to pay no taxes on this. It's you get to pay the taxes later. On this.
Yeah.
So the taxes are going to get paid. But to your point, you see people retire and they think, you know what, I don't want to do it this year. So let's just kick the can down the road. And we will let the kids figure that out when they inherit the IRA.
Right.
So really, it's like, let's put this on the kids' tax return and not on ours, because we want to try to do as
which is
little as
worse.
possible. Yeah, which
worse.
A lot of times is worse for what's important to them and for their goals.
Yeah.
So you've got the situation, you're both retired, get 7-figure IRA, and now you're like, hey, I think you should cut a check for $20,000 to do Roth conversions, right? Yeah. I mean, what are some of the things that this can mess up? I mean, what does tax sticker shock kind of look like?
Well, a couple different ways. And you go through, for the clients that I've been doing it with, we go through some different stages, right? The first one is I understand it, but also the reason is I'm not doing a good enough job. So hopefully, as I get better at explaining the value, some of these like dipping your toe in the water stages will go away. But what I've seen is the first stage is, yes, let's do it, but let's do less.
Yep.
Less than what you're proposing. I don't know if it's just like to feel it for a year. Like, I don't know why, but let's just do less. Let's just say that we did it, but do a lot less because that number that you proposed was scary. Okay, accept that. Better than nothing, right? And then the next phase is, we're going to do the bigger number, but we're going to withhold the taxes rather than write the check out of our cash account.
Sure.
And then the third phase is, okay, now I finally get it. You've said it and pounded it into us 3 years in a row. Now we finally do the full number, write the check, and we're all bought in. And what I'm trying to get to is figuring out how to get people to buy in earlier.
Sure.
So that they don't go through those. And not everybody does, but some people have gone through those phases. That's what I've felt. And some of the other things that come up that we have to be careful of as advisors is, you can't just divide the IRA by 8 years or 11 years or whatever it is till you turn 75. You have to, especially your younger clients, a lot of their health insurance is based on their taxable income.
Yeah. From
So now
60
we
to
have to,
65, especially with the,
with
Affordable Care
the
Act
Affordable Care
subsidies.
Act, right? So now we have to balance, and I actually coordinate directly with the health insurance provider, not the provider, but the agent, basically.
Yep.
And I run Magi tax projections for them. They come back with premiums, and we're the clients in between, and we just really work out like where's the sweet spot where,
Sure.
yeah, we know the premium's going to go up. We don't want it to be ridiculous. And we also have to look out for the people that are after 65, Medicare surcharges,
Sure.
if you take out too much. So there's a little balancing act there. It's not as easy as just dividing the number by however many years until you turn 75.
Sure.
But those can be sticker shock too. My insurance is, that's what you're talking about, the person that commented on social media. My insurance is going to go up. My taxes are going to go up. All these things are going to go up. Forget it. That's stupid. But fast forward 20 years later, and you maybe probably paid like $350,000 less in taxes. It wasn't that stupid, right? You just have to see the bigger picture.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. And I think another thing that I've seen that leads to some apprehension in this, and where you really need to help, where we really need to help our clients understand, hey, we're looking to solve and optimize for a long period of time to make sure that you accomplish what's important to you without overpaying the IRS, which sometimes means pay a little bit sooner, but pay actually less. But a lot of the folks that I work with who have big 401ks, these weren't business owners who spent their whole life writing checks to the IRS for estimated taxes.
It's your first
these
time.
are regular
W-2s,
folks, and they just work a job, and they fill out their Form W-4, and they get their taxes withheld from their paycheck. And at the end of the year, I get a refund, or I owe a little bit. So it's like a big mentality shift to say, okay, now I've got this big 401k, I rolled it over, and I'm supposed to start cutting a check every year for $20,000 to go to the IRS. It can be a little daunting sometimes.
It can.
So it's easy to see. It's easy to lose the forest for the trees.
Yeah,
especially
there's no doubt. And that's why, like I said, easing into it is fine. But I think we need to do a better job at showing the overall value and in managing expectations. Like, that projection, sometimes the big picture also can seem, I don't know, ridiculous. Like, I don't know how to split that difference. Like, okay, he's showing me in my, I'm going to save $400,000 in taxes. They either buy in right there and are like happy to write the check, or they're like, that seems a little ridiculous, like almost not believing it. Right. So I don't know what the balancing act is yet, but there is a way to do it. And I think putting more value on the freedom that it provides you and your surviving spouse and your children, rather than just the dollars and cents of how much taxes I paid, is maybe the better way to go about it. Because even if the tax dollars were a push, an absolute push, it's better to do it because of all the spending freedom and gifting flexibility and all that stuff that it gives you, your surviving spouse, and your child in the future. So if you can get all that and save on taxes over your lifetime, it's a win. But I think the value of how you're able to actually use the money in the future maybe gets lost by us because we geek out on the math of it.
Yep.
And it's really more about the flexibility of how they can live and spend their money.
Yeah, I that's a really good point. I think the important thing is, if you are, as an investor, and you're, close to retirement, or you're retiring and your income's going to go down a lot because of that, and you think, hey, this is a good time to start filling up some of those buckets with Roth conversions like we've talked about, you really have to frame everything through the lens of, and I don't want to sound cheesy, but I really mean this, like your own family's values, your goals, and how you see that money and your spending aligning to your values and goals, because that's going to make a really big difference on what you do with your IRA. I mean, it really does affect, hey, here's what I should do for tax planning, because it's important to me to leave some money behind to my church, or it's important to me to leave some money behind to my kid. And,
those are two different strategies.
Those are two different strategies, right? I'll tell you, this also doesn't really just affect people who have $1 million plus 401ks. I have a client who had like $100,000 in her IRA, And when she became a client of my firm, her original advisor had her just withdrawing everything out of her taxable brokerage account. And we were just leaving the IRA and literally just taking the bare minimum that you had to every year. And we're talking $100,000. But as I'm listening to her, she's like, hey, I have, 2 daughters, and I really just want to leave as much as I can to them to bless them. And, that's great. And that's wonderful. But for her, it's like, my cash flow needs are met. I'm kind of later stage, mid to later stage retirement, late 70s, early 80s. So I'm not traveling quite as much, but I really just want to preserve this and leave it as an inheritance to my kids. Well, her kids are in a lot higher tax bracket than she is now. She can pull out a lot of that money tax-free with her standard deduction, and a good bit more of it at 10%. So
10%,
as I'm listening to like, here's what's important to you.
Even if you creeped in, sorry to cut you off, but even if you creeped into 12, you can take a ton out from 100%. Her to go from 0 to 12. And the kid's first dollar is going to be 24 or 32.
Yeah. Cause if her kid inherits this $100,000 account, for them at their current level of spending and income, they're going to have to cash it out in 10 years. And even if they take a little at a time based on where their income is, they're losing 24+% to taxes, federal taxes plus state, because we're in Georgia.
And that just goes to the flexibility and the what you want to have happen.
Yes.
And it saves the taxes. But even if that's what I'm saying, even if it was a push, I think we do need to put more value on, look at what else this provides rather than just the dollars and cents. And then just to wrap up on the sticker shock, because we're here and I mentioned it at the opening, there's sticker shock on fees. I don't know how to get over that because I'm not great on a website or anything else at showing what our value is. It's not just us, CPAs, lawyers, all the other stuff. If you are complaining that I charge 0.25% more than your current person, and you're asking me tax planning questions and not him, there's your answer why.
Bye, Felicia.
Okay. That's what, but you see what I'm saying? Like, you're already answering your own question. Why are you more? Because the guy that's supposed to be doing all this stuff isn't doing it.
Yeah.
Right. So like that though. So don't get caught up in the sticker shock. Find the value. If it's not there, great, go buy. But if you want something that's a premium, you likely will have to pay a premium price.
I'm going to shut up and tell this story because what you said made me laugh and it's hilarious. So I remember one of my very first clients, I get this client from door knocking. We'll call her Sue, but if she's listening to it, she knows who she is. And she's in my office on a Saturday morning and we're going over like, okay, here's my proposal. She's working with an advisor. They're not happy. I door knocked her and I was like, hey, I do investments. Do you have an IRA? And she's like, yep. And I was like, are you happy with the service you get? And she's like, nope. And I was like, cool, I'll call you. Got her number? That was the entire conversation. It was like, yes, no, here's my phone number. Get her in. And I kind of go through a proposal and she's like, man, my advisor doesn't charge that. And she's like kind of pushing back a little bit. And I was like, that's why you're here. Like, he doesn't charge this and he's not doing anything for you. So you can have the lower fee. You already do have it. Keep it. But you want service. And she's a fantastic client. Absolutely
they get
wonderful.
it. They get it. There need to be
back in the years.
And that's the same thing with other professionals too. It's not just because you might be in the same business bucket.
Yeah,
what we're doing is not commoditized. And I have very similar experience very recently where a guy is paying 0.9% to his advisor, and he wasn't really pushing back too hard, but was kind of balking at the fact that I wanted 1.25.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you literally have another advisor and asked me to build you a tax plan. Yeah. Like you just answered your own question right there. Like they're not doing what you need.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why the extra fees are, but let's stop there. We're talking about Roth conversions, IRAs, all that sort of stuff. That's going to lead us into a really great episode that we're going to record next. So follow along. What do you want to talk about next so we can tell everybody what's coming?
Yeah, I think next let's do, we'll talk about the big myth about taxes, my taxes will be lower in retirement, and why I
That's
think
right.
that's a big myth.
If you
But
think
let's wrap up here. This is good, man.
if you are being told your taxes are going to be lower in retirement, and that's what a lot of your investing strategy is based around, listen to this next episode. We're going to get into it deep. Thanks, buddy.
All right, good talk.
All right.
This show reflects the personal opinions and viewpoints of myself, Hamilton Brandenburg, and my guests. Opinions and viewpoints are subject to change at any time without notice. No representation is made as to the accuracy, completeness, or relevance of the information presented. The information discussed is general in nature and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice, so consult with your tax, legal, and financial professionals about your specific situation. Past performance does not indicate future returns, and any indices mentioned are for reference and cannot be invested in directly. Brandenburg Financial Services is a DBA of CS Planning, an SEC-registered investment advisor.